Welcome everybody back to the Building Equity Podcast, here to talk about the Foreclosure Report for October of 23. We're a little bit late, but we're back. We're actually going to highlight July and September as well as October, so we're here. But listen, before we start, I got to give you my disclaimer. You guys know this. We're not giving you any investment advice. We're not giving you any legal or tax advice. This is strictly for educational purposes, and we hope it helps. And as always, today's show is brought to you by IRA Title Pro. If you are getting ready to buy and sell real estate using your self-directed IRA, you should check out IRA Title Pro. There's an entire suite of resources for you to use. There's a great closing company, experienced real estate professionals that understand IRA purchases and sales. They're happy to help you. Please reach out to them at IRA Title Pro. Listen, let's dive into the numbers. You can see here on the screen, we're talking about Foreclosure Starts. And if we were to head back here to catch back up, because it's been a bit since we've met, if we go back to July, we're looking at 20,526 foreclosure starts. Well, guess what happened? September's report, we had an 18.9% increase up to 24,420 starts. That was major news that hit the press, Wall Street Journal, everywhere. Now, in October, it kind of settled down a little bit and dropped about 6.18% down to 22,910 foreclosure starts. Now, remember, a foreclosure start, that's when the bank files the paperwork, or in about 22 states, that is when the notice for sale is actually brought up in the court. So, good to know. Now, if we look year over year, you're going to see that October 22, there were 21,405 foreclosure starts. October of 23 again is 22,910 foreclosure starts. We're seeing about an increase of 7% over the year. Now, when we talk about volume, remember, Texas, California, Florida are always the leading states because they're just large. So we like to look at it at a per thousand household basis. And we can see Texas, Georgia, and South Carolina, which is very, very interesting. If we move over to notice for sales, this is the midway point in the foreclosure process when the judge kind of signs the order that says the property will go to sale on this date. In about 22 states, this is also the start of the foreclosure process. We can see there are 14,974 in July, and then September, it shot up 15.5% to 17,304 foreclosure sale notices. In October, that dropped down just a smidge, 1.2%. It decreased to 17,095. If we look at year over year from October of 22, there were 13,851, and here's a big one. Remember, October of 23 was 17,095. We are up 23.4% in notice for sales. And guess what, guys? If you're a real estate investor, that's huge because you want to know what states is that happening in. You want to know if that's your state. You want to keep your finger on the pulse for those distressed properties because when they are up for auction, that could be a great deal for you. So, from a volume perspective, again, Texas, California, and what slid in there, what I found interesting was Georgia. If we look at a per thousand households, you've got Texas, Georgia, and Michigan. Interesting stuff. Let's head over to REOs because this is really, really interesting. And remember, the REO, the way that the data categorizes it, and this data again comes from Altos Research. You can see that up there. An REO is when the property makes its way through the whole foreclosure judicial process. It goes to auction, but nobody buys it at auction. It reverted back to the bank, right? So in July, you can see there were 3,215 REOs. It shot up in September to 4,334, which was 34.8% increase. You know, stop the press is huge news. Bank REOs increased 34%. It's kind of what you saw in the press. However, for October, it dropped 23%, 23.1% to be exact, down to 3,332. So it kind of cooled off a little bit. However, it's still worth monitoring. Why? Credit card debt is through the roof. Subprime auto delinquencies are through the roof. And let's take a look at year-over-year October REOs. In October of 22, there were 4,156 REOs. It actually decreased to 3,332 in October of 23. Fascinating, right? If we go to volume, this threw me for a loop, by the way. From a volume perspective, not per thousand households, in October, REOs, Pennsylvania, Illinois, and Ohio. Go figure, right? From a per thousand households, Maryland, Pennsylvania, and Illinois. So there's definitely some stuff happening in some interesting states. Listen, that's the information. I apologize I was a little bit late. We'll be back right in the swing of things next month. I hope this information was helpful. As always, head over to IRATitlePro.com if you are buying, selling, or lending using your self-directed IRA. The entire team is happy to help you, and we look forward to seeing you next week.